Hello and welcome to a new video on my channel. Today I wanted to show you this. I was gonna call it either luxury cabin in the woods. I don't know what I'm gonna end up calling it. It's a big cabin. I think it's a bit luxury in a way. It's not super run down, but it's not, super expensive and fancy. But this is what I started with, just a blog. I did have some images from Google that I inspired myself with, but it ended up looking completely different just because, sometimes it's just difficult to build real stuff on The Sims. So it ended up looking a little bit different, but I'm really happy with the results. Just trying to figure out the placing of the columns here and had to use some different ones just because, The Sims doing things in different levels isn't sometimes what you would expect. But here I was just figuring out the size of the actual cabin. I knew I wanted a big open space for the kitchen area. I thought I was gonna do the kitchen, dining, sitting area all in the same spot, but when I actually went to build it, I couldn't really fit it all in the one space, so I ended up separated a little bit. I don't have a proper sitting dining room area, but we do have some bar stools on the kitchen island that you'll see later on. It does have an island. That is, in my eyes, what makes it luxury, because a kitchen island, I can only wish one day. But we do have a lot of sitting area outside. It is, Granite Falls. You do want to have your meals outside, be in the, outside nature environment. So I'm not super worried. I do have a little, outdoor, not outdoor, but little cabin at the front, which is more for random stuff, gardening stuff. I do just add decoration items, but it could be, for whatever it is, doing flowers, candles, whatever it is that you want to make. And it does have 3 bedrooms, so that's what I'm doing right here. 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. 2 of the bedrooms have access to the little balconies. The other one doesn't, but does have an ensuite. So that's, the trade-off, I guess. And of course, this is going to be a rental home because this is Granite Falls, which is one of the vacation worlds. But yeah, still doing the outside here. It took me a while because I did want to add a lot of different, I've got the columns everywhere. I did want to make the outside all wood. As you can see here, I did play around with different colors and shadings, but I ended up doing all of it, or most of it, in that light wood color, the same as the windows. And I did want to add a lot of wood elements to the outside, so you'll see that in a bit. I go back and add a lot of detail to the columns and sort of, have some more wood pieces also to the front. You'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. But I always struggle with the placement of windows. I don't always want it to look symmetrical, because then it looks, when you're a kid and you draw a house and it always has the windows, either 2 or 4, but they're all lining up. And that's what it looks like to me when I try to make the windows symmetrical. So I do try to use from the same style, but different, the sizing of the windows is different. And I do try to make it a bit asymmetrical, because otherwise I do feel like it does look like a little kid drawing a little house. So I did not want it to look like that. And yeah, that's what I was doing. I'm adding 2 chimneys there. The chimney doesn't actually sit on that side of the house, but it doesn't matter, it's all for the looks. And these are the details that I was saying I was adding onto all the beams, the columns, all that stuff, just to make it look a bit more rustic in that sense on the outside. So I'm adding all of those there. A bit of a pain, some of them didn't really look properly. And then, just adding a few things to the outside, making it look more unique in a way, a bit more decorated. Some of those vines as well from Cottage Living, which I really like. And I didn't know if they fit the world completely, but I think they do. When you're in nature, things like that happen. You get some ivies and all that stuff. And here I'm adding more wood decorative pieces to the outside. This took a while to put in, because I was sizing them down twice and then, alt placing them so they kind of fit the lines of the wallpaper, if that makes sense. If the wallpaper was actual beams, the lines on those. So I just doing it on those 2 sides there. I think that looks quite nice. It just adds a little bit more, makes it look less flat, if that makes sense. And then just adding a bit of those wood pieces again. I had to remove them and place them again when I did the little deck area there in the back. Very small, but you know, took a while. And then just adding a few more things like the banisters for the balconies, and then going into the terrain paint. But I think I stopped in a second and moved, yeah, to the little house at the front. Again, this is quite simple, but I just think it adds a bit more. If you had a huge house like this, even if it's a rental, I feel like all the gardening tools and that kind of thing would have to sit somewhere and not in the house, because it's a rental. You want it to look nice inside, so you would have them somewhere but not inside. So, you know, little house at the front, that makes sense. And then just adding all the little plants at the front. You know, I used to hate landscaping in The Sims, but now it's one of my favorite things. I just love adding all the flowers everywhere. Makes a huge difference, makes it look from it took you 5 minutes to it took you 3 hours, even though it didn't take you 5 minutes to begin with. But you know, the plants it's what, you know, gets reflected when you add those plants. And then I went into the debug mode as well and found a bunch of those little weeds on the floor and a few more plants to add around, a few more rocks, just trying to blend the house with the rest of the environment, because you know, Granite Falls does have a lot of plants on the ground, a lot of terrain paint, a lot of rocks. And it just looks a bit weird when your lot is just, you know, grass, nice grass everywhere. So I did want to make it blend a little bit more. And I do add more stuff now, but I also go back towards the end and add a lot more of those rocks and plants at the entrance, because it just felt a bit empty. So I had to go back and add a lot more of that later on. I was struggling trying to match the terrain paint with what we have outside the lot. I still don't know which one they're using, if they're using something different, if they're using a mix of them, but I tried my best to make it look matching in a way, at least like it belongs to the world. And of course, on the outside of the house, we're gonna have that fireplace with all the chairs. I did make it so it fits 8 Sims, but there's not enough beds for 8 Sims, but you know what I mean. Just trying to make it look nice, and like, you know, a lot of Sims can have that fireplace time. And also some of those games, I don't know what they are, where you throw the thing. Just trying to make it look like there's a lot to do in the house, not just in the world, but if you just stayed in this rental, that you'd have loads of things to do. So you have the fireplace, I do put a barbecue in a second, you do have the gardening, you do have the games, I do add a hot tub as well later on, a kids rack thing to play with, like playground thing. So yep, that thing. So there is a lot for your Sims to do in the lot. And I feel like sometimes when I take my Sims on a holiday here, there isn't so much to do other than go on hikes. So I did want to make it so there's a lot to do. They can eat, they can sing around the fireplace, they can play, they can garden, they can do all of it. So yeah, I do quite like that. And also it's a big lot, so I did want to fill it with different things and put that little bike next to the tree, which just makes it look, I don't know, like a bit of detail, not too much. I'm not super good at adding detail, but I tried. And then going into the inside of the house, just adding some doors to it. And then we go with the banister there, adding lights, which is always a bit of a pain, but you know, it has to be done. And then I think with the, yep, going with the flooring, I did use that one from Cottage Living because I thought it really matched really well the color that I was going with, the wood color that I was going with. And yeah, I did make it wood in the lounge and kitchen area. The rest has other wallpapers just because, I don't know, I did want to keep some of the wood, but not necessarily everywhere. I think this fits quite nicely with the build. The bathroom at the front is a bit more simple, a bit more wood-like, just trying to use those items from the pack. The other bathrooms upstairs are more modern and have other things, so you could, I don't know, you could think that this house started with just being the ground floor and then they added the other one. I don't know. You could think about different things with that. Added that different wood wallpaper to the bathroom just to make it different, but also wood. And then the kitchen, which is my favorite thing in the house, I think. just because, I don't know, it makes it look luxury, like I said, but still like cabin-like. I do make an island in a second, which is, you know, my favorite thing. I just think it looks so nice in The Sims. There we go with the island. And just, yeah, just trying to fit a lot of the stuff into the kitchen. The cabinets are always a bit of a pain. I think they're too wide. Anyone else thinks the same? Let me know, because I think the cabinets are super wide. And I know realistically that's what they are, but in The Sims, it just doesn't look right to me. I don't know. Adding a few more things here to the entrance, to the kitchen, to that little house at the front. Like I said, most of it is just decorative, but it just looks nice. And adding a lot of the curtains, which I'm really happy with the base game update that we had recently, the refresh. There's a lot more curtain colors to choose from, which I'm really happy about. And going back to the kitchen, just adding, you know, I separated the stove and the oven just because I thought that looked nice to have it in the island, just sitting on top. I think that looks quite nice. I didn't know if I wanted to put the sink there or the stove, but I ended up doing it that way. I think it looked quite nice. And just, I was struggling with the fridge. They didn't really match properly, but you know, it's The Sims. And again, I think the kitchen ended up looking quite nice. Adding a few more details here and there just to make it look like there's items everywhere. It just makes a huge difference, but I didn't clutter it too much. I did only use actual game items, so like no custom content throughout, so I struggled a bit more with the clutter. I do have a lot of custom content clutter that I usually use, but because I wanted to keep it, at one point I decided I wasn't using custom content. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with no custom content. So I struggle a bit more with some of the items for that reason, but I do think that it makes it look quite nice anyway. Everywhere, adding plants, adding some decorations, and then here we go into the lounge, which you'll see in a second. It doesn't really have a fireplace right now, but I do take out the windows from the left hand side and put a fireplace over there, just because I thought at this point I realized if you have a cabin in the woods, it has to have a fireplace. And I was like, why didn't I think about this? Why didn't I account for a fireplace when I put the windows in? So yeah, making it look quite cozy, and at this point it just looked really beige, so I did change the color of the sofas just to make it look not super beige, and just adding a few more items there and going to the first floor. Very simple decorations towards the hallway, but then in this balcony I just put 2 sofas, a couple plants, couple lanterns, and that's about it. And going into the master bedroom, which I think this is a master bedroom, made it look a bit more green in a theme, if that makes sense, just because there's green in the walls, green in the bedding, so that's what we went for. But it's always difficult to find items that match in the game with the pictures, with the frames, and also the desks, but you know, we tried to do the best that we could. There's some older items, some newer items, which I think is quite normal for rentals as well. Like, they don't decorate them like properly. They do change things here and there, so yeah. And then this is the big bathroom, if you want to say the family bathroom, with the bath and the shower. Made it look a bit more modern, as I said, compared to the one downstairs. And again, very simple, just a bathroom, but it looks quite nice, I think. Towels, toilet roll, all the items that you need. And I did put a hamper, even though there's no washing machine in the house, but you know, just as it is. And for this room, I tried to use the bunk beds, but then they didn't really look right, so I went with 2 single beds here. And then I also put in a toddler bed, just because I feel like when I do a rental, I always want to put in a toddler bed, because if you have toddlers, it's a bit of a pain when you go to a rental lot and they have nowhere to sleep in. They just have to nap on the sofa. So I do try to always add a toddler bed. If they don't need it, they don't need it, but you know, if they do, then it's there. So I did do that over there, and then just adding a couple pictures, and that is it for that room. We go to the balcony first. Again, same sofa, same plant. And then into the final bedroom, which again could be for 1 sim or 2 sims, whatever it is, but not the master. It could be for a kid, it could be for whoever it is that you have go into this rental. This one is a lot more simple than the other rooms, and it does have a little desk. You know, you need computers in Sims, otherwise they've got nothing to do. So I did put a computer in every room, just because, I don't know, And then just a very simple bathroom here. Again, this is an ensuite because the room doesn't have access to any balconies. And after that, I just decorate the outside a bit more. Like I said, I added that hot tub over there, and I just added a few more landscaping items, rocks, plants, flowers, and all that kind of thing. So that is basically it for the build. I do quite like how it turned out. I think it looks quite nice. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Of course, I built it, so I have to say that. But that is about it. I'll leave you with the rest of the video. Just adding, again, a few more plants here because I removed the window, so then there was an empty space. But yeah, that's it for the video. If you guys liked it, let me know in the comments. If you have any requests of builds that you want to see, then let me know in the comments as well. And I'll see if I can do that, if I'm good at them. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.